Afghanistan just launched a huge attack on Pakistan after Pakistan bombed Afghanistan just 2 days ago. In fact, almost immediately after Pakistan launched these airstrikes on Kabul, Afghanistan said they killed nearly 60 soldiers on the border with Pakistan. Now, I'm going to be honest, it seems like they're on the verge of going to war now. And shortly after Afghanistan announced they had killed nearly 60 of these Pakistani soldiers, Pakistan responded saying they had killed over 200 Taliban soldiers who attacked them. Now, one of the really important things that you need to know about this is that the Taliban is using American military equipment to carry out these attacks on Pakistan. Obviously, when the US pulled out of Afghanistan, they left behind everything, billions and billions of dollars worth of military equipment, and now the Taliban is using that to attack Pakistan. Now, Pakistan did actually admit that 23 of these soldiers were killed by Afghanistan. They denied that it was 60, but it's still quite a lot. But what's important here is to know what's actually happening, and to be fair, it seems like Pakistan are not the ones who are in the wrong in this. Of course, Pakistan, yes, they carried out airstrikes onto Kabul 2 days ago, but you have to note that that came in response to many months worth of border crossing attacks on Pakistan, carried out by groups in Afghanistan. And now Afghanistan seems to be forgetting all of those months worth of attacks on Pakistan, and now they're claiming that Pakistan are the ones in the wrong here. But either way, it looks like this attack has really backfired on Afghanistan regardless. Not only has Afghanistan been bombed by Pakistan, but now they've lost at least 200 of their soldiers. But if you're new here, this is my daily news recap where I summarize all of the most important news in the last 24 hours, which hopefully you haven't heard about. Now, the next point is arguably more important, but one thing you need to know first is I'm in Bali at the moment, and there is bloody wildlife everywhere, and there's lizards like everywhere I look. Anyway, regardless of that, China just attacked the Philippines, and they've tried to sink a Philippines ship. In fact, today a video came out of it happening, and it shows a Chinese Coast Guard ship intentionally ramming into a Philippines ship. Now, something worth knowing, this isn't just any ship. This ship is actually a Philippines government ship, which means that if this had sunk, it would have ended very differently. And to add to that, not only did this Chinese ship start ramming into it to try and sink it, but it also started firing its water cannon at the ship for whatever reason. But this isn't the first time this has happened. In fact, China does do this relatively often. It's one of their protocols. But something worth knowing, the last time this happened, a month or so ago, China actually sunk one of their own warships by doing this. A video came out, and because they rammed a different Philippine ship so hard, it literally smashed the nose off of that Chinese Coast Guard ship, and it ended up sinking. Now, the important part, back to what's happened today, China says the reason they've done this is because the Philippines was sailing illegally in their waters in the South China Sea. But of course, the Philippines, and pretty much every other country on the planet, dispute who owns the South China Sea, and they say that it's international waters. The Philippines spoke on this. They said, quote, "This aggressive action only strengthens our resolve to not surrender a square inch of our territory to any foreign power." Now, China actually responded to this, and they said, kind of as you'd expect, that the Philippines were the ones completely in the wrong, and China is, as usual, doing nothing wrong. China said, quote, "The Philippines ship repeatedly ignored warnings from us, and it dangerously approached our ship." And China also said, quote, "Full responsibility lies with the Philippines side, and not us." It's up to you who you believe, but it's quite clear what the video shows. The video shows the Chinese Coast Guard actually ramming into the Philippines ship. How's it going? The gremlin has arrived in the video.
Can you stop invading my camera, please?
So today, Israel just said fuck you to the Palestinians.
Pretty much.
Well, next, looping it back to the first point, Trump just promised to end the Pakistan and Afghanistan war, which started 2 days ago. Obviously, I just spoke about it in the first point, but Trump said, quote, "I am an expert at solving wars, and this will be my 8th one." Now, despite the fact that about 250 soldiers were killed in just the first day yesterday, it seems that Trump is joking about it. If you don't know, Trump is currently in Israel, and he's there because of the ceasefire agreement that was agreed on and signed just a few days ago, that is now supposedly in place. But because of that, Trump has said that he's actually busy at the moment, which means that Pakistan and Afghanistan are going to have to wait. He actually said that. He said, quote, "I hear there's another war now between Afghanistan and Pakistan, but they'll have to wait until I get back, as I am busy stopping a different war." Of course, getting rid of all the humor in it, Trump is expected to get back to the US within the next 3 or 4 days. He might be in Israel for a few days, we don't really know. But what we do know is that over the next 3 or 4 days, the situation between Afghanistan and Pakistan is likely to get a whole lot worse before Trump starts negotiating between them. To be fair, if Trump's telling the truth with historical conflicts, he did stop the India and Pakistan conflict back in May, and it's very likely he can do the same between Afghanistan and Pakistan. But either way, that's still 3 or 4 days at least until this war gets resolved, and it seems at the moment that it's only getting worse. You're meant to be on a diet. I'm going to show them your pizza. I hope you know that. You can look at this chap. This is the video. I'm putting you in because you're a fat bastard. Go back upstairs, you gremlin. But anyway, back to what you came for. The military in Madagascar just tried to overthrow the president. I'm serious. And the important part, it seems that they're going to try again. At least they say they are. And to be fair, this time it seems it's going to be successful. If you don't know, over the last few weeks, there's been huge anti-government protests and riots in Madagascar because of government corruption. But today, quite a large portion of the military in Madagascar has gone against the government and they're disobeying orders now. And they're actually siding with the anti-government protesters. And they're saying that the military is going to overthrow the government now. In fact, the military spoke on why they're doing this, and they said, quote, "For far too long, we have chosen to submit and just execute our orders, even if they're illegal orders." And they also said, quote, "We have done this instead of protecting the population and their property like we originally wanted to." Now, something kind of ironic and full circle, the current president of Madagascar actually took power the same way that he's about to be overthrown. Back in 2009, a military coup overthrew the sitting president at the time, and they put the current president in power in Madagascar. But today, it seems another military coup is about to take him out of power. At the moment, the situation is still really unfolding, except they've given him about a day to resign, and if they don't, they've said they're going to try again, and it's probably going to be successful. So I would expect the Madagascan government is about to be overthrown. Of course, though, I'll keep you updated with it.
I just want to take a moment to show you the sunset. This is pretty cool. Whilst you're here, here's some behind the scenes. There's the laptop. There's the camera, look. Ooh, we can even see ourselves. See ya.
Right, next point. North Korea just made an exact replica of America's best rocket launchers, and they're eerily quite good. But what's important is North Korea actually has a really bad habit of just replicating American stuff, whether it's the M1 Abrams tank, the Global Hawk drone, MQ-9 Reaper drone, just things like that. Regardless of that, North Korea spoke on these new rocket launchers that they've made that are a replica of the American HIMARS system, and they said, quote, "These self-propelled rocket launchers showcased the power of our artillery." It's worth knowing though, at the same time that North Korea did unveil this US copy of the HIMARS rocket launcher system, they unveiled a whole lot more of their military. So North Korea was clearly trying to prove something when they did this. But to add to really the main point of this video, we still don't know why North Korea wants to replicate US systems rather than making their own ones. Copying American weapon systems doesn't really seem to give North Korea much of an advantage, because if they're the same, then the US knows everything about them. According to some people, it's North Korea just trying to prove that they've gotten their hands on American weapon system blueprints somehow. I don't know whether that's suggesting that North Korea spies on the US or something. But other people say that it's North Korea saying that they've already caught up with US technology and it's pretty easy for them to replicate that US technology, which would suggest that North Korea is ahead of the US. Either way, it's quite unusual. Yeah, North Korea likes to copy American weapons, if you didn't know that. Today, they've unveiled a copy of the American HIMARS system. Back on the protein shake. Right, next up, Bangladesh just signed a huge deal with Turkey, and this comes not long after Bangladesh banned all travel to Israel. In fact, this deal that Bangladesh just signed with Turkey is for Bangladesh to buy loads of Turkish air defense systems. And as you'd expect, that's making a lot of people question why Bangladesh is doing that. And a lot of people are saying that this could mean Bangladesh is preparing for something in order to defend themselves. If you don't know, at the moment, Bangladesh does have quite a lot of disagreements with a lot of countries around the world, specifically India. In fact, a few months ago, Bangladesh accused India of restricting the water access into Bangladesh via the Indian dams, blocking the waterways into Bangladesh. And because of that, Bangladesh has started working closer with China. And of course, India and China have had decades worth of disagreements and fighting. But as I said at the start, this comes not long after Bangladesh banned all travel to Israel. If you don't know, even Bangladeshi passports now have a phrase written inside of them saying, quote, "This passport works for all countries except Israel." In fact, according to some reports, it's even been made entirely illegal for Bangladeshi citizens to visit Israel, and they'll be sentenced to prison or something if they're caught doing it. Of course, Turkey and Israel each have their own disagreements, so Bangladesh signing a deal with Turkey is also likely to annoy Israel as well. Either way though, these are all just a bunch of coincidences probably. To be fair, the main point of this is that Bangladesh has just bought air defense systems from Turkey. It probably doesn't mean much, to be fair, it's not big news. That's why why it's the last point and not the first point. But on that point, if you learned something and you found out something that you didn't know, leave me a subscribe, because this is the news that you won't find anywhere else. So I'll see you tomorrow for the next daily recap.